What's up, everybody? It's your favorite noir fan's favorite nerd. Today we are talking about Sin City 2. We're not going to waste a whole lot of time, okay? We're going to do the good, the bad, and the ugly just like we always do. So the good. The cast is amazing. You're thinking to yourself, man, I wish they would put so-and-so in it. And then you look in the credits and so-and-so is in it. Ray Liotta, Christopher Lloyd. These are people made for the Sin City world. And I know what I'm talking about. Like, I'm a Sin City fan. I've been a fan for some time. And I got the other one sitting down here too. It's too heavy for me to pick up and show you guys. I got stuff to do. There's some problems because, Michael Clark Duncan, he's no longer with us, so he had to be replaced. And then Clive Owen's been replaced. I'm not sure what the deal is on that, but it kind of works if you know the story, how that kind of works out. It's still super stylized, and that style is beautiful. All the blacks and whites with the little accents of color. It's all accentuated really well. Like I always say, the devil's in the details. If you pay attention, there's choices that they make with the fabrics. Like they're excessively wrinkly to kind of pick up on the light and the little like notches. Just like Frank Miller's work, if you're familiar. Speaking of which, Frank Miller makes a cameo. He's like Stan Lee in it, which I thought was kind of cool. Some people might think he's piggybacking off that idea, but I think it's kind of cool. If they touch any work that he's had his hands in, I'd like to see the same thing done. It's pretty much the same creative people that are behind it. The movie kind of feels like a continuation of the first one. Even though if you know the books and you know the stories, they're kind of intercut. The narrative isn't in chronological order. It's all over the place, but it still kind of feels like it's part of the same animal, which is cool. And between the cast that does a bang-up job and the style and the blacks and the whites and the colors and the whole noir feel and that Frank Miller writing, it all forms Sin City as you know Sin City if you know Sin City. The good is really good. The bad is it's different because one of the problems is that we no longer have Clive Owen, we have Josh Brolin. And I like Clive Owen, and I Brolin's cool too, but I really like Clive Owen. I kind of missed him. And the problem is that this one kind of suffers the same issue that the first one does, where his segment of the story kind of drags. And I think it kind of drags because his segment of the story always deals with less Sin City gratuitous violence that you may want, or everybody wants Marv, right? So it deals with less Marv, and it's just got a different vibe to it. The books had a different vibe to it when Dwight's character stepped in, and it just kind of drags. Even though every 2 minutes, somebody's getting punched in the face or a bottle's getting cracked open or whatever, those parts do move a bit slow. Michael Clark Duncan's been replaced as well. That was kind of beyond their control. But outside of that, we're also missing that Quentin Tarantino spin. And I kind of like that, how in the first Sin City, Rodriguez and Miller and Tarantino working together. And with those three chefs in the kitchen, you're going to get a pretty f***ed up pie. But who doesn't want a slice? You know who does want a slice? This guy wants a slice. An aspect of it that can be bad if you don't know what you're getting into is this is not a river runs through it. This is Sin City. They're not trying to really break any grounds with dramatic overtones. They're trying to crack you over the head with a baseball bat. A lot of people might say I bashed, Bay's Transformer things for the same thing, but it's not the same thing. It's different. Yes, the violence is gratuitous. Yes, the sex is gratuitous. All those things are forced down your throat, and they are kind of for show, and it's over the top. But the difference is, one, it's style, like this one's super stylized, and you can tell there's a lot of care and love and attention that went into it. And two, there is depth there. You got to dig on your own to find it, but that there's more to Marv than just cracking somebody over the head or putting a bullet in their skull. There's more to Dwight, and there's more to Rourke, and there's more to these characters than what's on the surface. It's just that this is a dog-eat-dog kind of town, and you got to have your guns out or your claws out all the time. It's just the cost of doing business in Sin City. It's gratuitous because it has to be. You have to be gratuitous to make it in this town. If you understand the city as a template for those sorts of activities, then you understand that it's not just a cop-out, it's a necessity. I think a big part of anything, whether it be professionally or personally or socially or intimately, is know your audience. And Sin City banks on the idea that it knows its audience. But if you wandered in off the street after a Friday night of, from poetry down Barnes & Noble, you might be a little disappointed. Now I had to get intimate with you guys for a minute for the ugly, because the ugly is what brings us to the meat and potatoes of this discussion, okay? Usually when I do the ugly, I talk about the things that are just make you cringe. You ever see the first Fantastic Four movie? You remember when the Dalmatian put the paw over his nose? Like, that would be a good example. But I don't really have that in this movie. I do have a few things. Nobody gets a pass. The fact that the narrative is not in chronological order, and the fact that the characters have been played by different people because the sequel has taken almost 10 years to come out, it's gonna screw with a lot of people. There's an awful lot of expectations put on the viewer of a movie where most of the details are right on the surface to kind of keep track of what's going on. Now, for comic book guys and guys that are real big fans of the genre, it's going to be fine. For the layman, it's going to be confusing. I think that even the trailers you've seen, that you may not really understand what the is going on in this movie, and as a result, people are not going to go see it. It might be 15 years before we get another sequel. You know how many people were in the movies with me? It was me, my buddy, and 3 other people. And they weren't together. So one person had to come alone, because he couldn't find nobody to go with him. I would predict that most people, they would expect for me to talk about the gratuitous violence. That a ninja chick can jump up out of a broken glass window, and there's a lot of broken glass windows in this flick, but a ninja chick can jump up out of a broken glass window and chop the heads off of 4 dudes, and blood is spewing out like Mortal Kombat with an IV in all their arms. Or that one of the female leads can spend most of the film naked for no good reason, and that I might view that as being over the top. But that's not the way I'm going to approach this. This movie is over the top, and it's gratuitous, and I find it refreshing. Now you're going to say, how can you find it refreshing? There's such nonsense. Michael Bay blew up half of every city and every movie he's ever made, and I hear you, okay? But here's the thing. We're living in an age where you have to be so sensitive to everyone's feelings, and you have to be so cognizant of everyone's point of view and everyone's experiences and the baggage that they carry with them, that you walk around being afraid to say anything to anybody. And this movie says everything and doesn't care. And in some ways that's refreshing. We also live in an age where men are afraid to be men anymore. You can't be a man. Not an old school man. Not John Wayne. Gary Cooper. No way. You know why it's impossible? Because you need your Axe body spray, and you need your hair mousse, and you need to have skinny jeans, and you need to have your nails done, and you go to a masseuse, and you get a massage, because your life is so hard. It's so hard, you get so tense, don't you? Don't you get a little tense? And as a result, we're walking around with a lot of men that are some sort of ambiguous boys. You got to have all this product. So in touch with your feelings, you have to be. That's what's required of today's man. So you wear your designer shoes, $500 sunglasses, and your $30 hair mousse, and you just took a bath and a shower, and you got 8 different bottles in the bath and shower. You got this one for the skin, and this one for your face, and this one for your aftershave, and your pre-shave, and your shaving cream, and your Axe body spray. But you know who doesn't do any of that? Marv. Marv wears his trench coat long. He wears his wife beater untucked. He's got his boots on. They're laced up enough to get the job done, and they're well worn in. He drinks whiskey, and he chases it with a cigarette. Now that's an extreme. But the world needs a little Marv. Thank God for Marv. Every now and then we need to be reminded of what it means to be tough. And I'm not saying hurt anybody. I'm not a violent person. But I am saying man up. And a lot of times I look at this, how coddled everybody needs to be now. I've got kids. My kids are going to school, and I don't want my kids to be bullied. Nobody wants their kids to be bullied. But I saw a commercial before I saw this movie. It was a bunch of kids doing a rap number, little hip-hop tune, about how to say no to being a bully. I had bullies in my day, and nobody walks all over old SKullface now. Nobody's going to take advantage of your old Uncle SKullface. I'm not saying that we need bullies. I'm just saying that sometimes kids need to realize how to handle their problems, and that in turn they become capable human beings when they grow up, with the ability to take control of their own destiny and not be derailed by any little problem they might encounter because they've been given this perfect little world beforehand. And Marv represents that perseverance, that toughness. Now, of course, that's an extreme. I'm not saying be like Marv. Don't be stupid. But I am saying that while that is an extreme, so is having 8 different bottles of product in your shower and spending 45 minutes and $200 on a haircut. That's an extreme also. And rarely when things are extreme are they right. Usually when that pendulum is somewhere in the middle, that's where you want to be. So while it's ugly, I found it refreshing. I'm not sure if that makes me a bad person or not. Don't hurt anybody. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Till next time, take care.